Imagine living in the palace of the most powerful man on earth, surrounded by gold, silk, servants, and unimaginable luxury. To the outside world, you'd be considered blessed beyond measure. Yet inside your heart, you feel empty, because the truth is not in wealth, nor in power, but in faith. This is the story of Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh, a woman who stood for truth in the heart of tyranny. Asiya's life is one of the most inspiring stories in Islamic history. Despite living with Pharaoh, who claimed to be a god himself, Asiya's heart belonged entirely to Allah. Her story is a reminder that no matter where you are, no matter how much pressure surrounds you, faith can survive and even shine in the darkest of places. The Prophet Muhammad, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, described Asiya as one of the 4 greatest women of all time, alongside Maryam, the mother of Isa, Khadijah, the beloved wife of the Prophet, and Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet. That alone should make us pause, because out of all the women in history, she is placed at the highest rank of paradise. Before we dive into her story, I want to quickly remind you, if you love learning about the lives of the greatest believers and want more inspiring Islamic stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the Inspired Muslim channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming episodes. Now, let's step into the world of Asiya, the believer in the heart of tyranny. Musa. One of the most striking moments in Asiya's life happened when a small basket floated down the Nile River. Inside that basket was a baby who would change the course of history. That baby was Musa, Moses, peace be upon him. To understand the gravity of this moment, we need to remember what was happening in Egypt at that time. Pharaoh had a terrifying dream that one of the children of the Israelites would grow up and overthrow him. Out of fear and arrogance, he ordered the killing of all newborn boys from the Israelite community. Imagine the horror. Mothers giving birth in secret, families trembling in fear, soldiers searching for innocent babies to slaughter. Now Musa's mother, by the command of Allah, placed her baby in a basket and set him afloat on the Nile, trusting in Allah's promise that he would protect her child. That basket sailed right into Pharaoh's palace, the very place of the man who wanted him dead. When the baby was brought before Pharaoh, the natural expectation would be death. But here is where Allah's divine plan unfolded. Asiya, the queen, laid her eyes on this innocent baby and instantly felt love, compassion, and mercy in her heart. She picked him up and said words that changed everything. "He will be a comfort of the eye for me and you. Do not kill him. Perhaps he may benefit us, or we may adopt him as a son." Think about this for a moment. Pharaoh, the tyrant who killed countless babies, was stopped by his wife's gentle plea. Asiya's compassion saved Musa's life. Allah placed love for Musa in her heart, and through that love, he safeguarded the child who would later rise against Pharaoh. This moment reveals something profound. Sometimes, Allah uses the soft heart of a believer to change the course of history. Asiya could have remained silent, or even agreed with Pharaoh's cruelty, but her nature was mercy. Her voice protected Musa and allowed him to grow up under her care, right inside Pharaoh's palace, safe, nurtured, and prepared for his future mission. Can you imagine the irony? The very tyrant who swore to kill Musa ended up raising him in his own palace, feeding him with his own food, clothing him in his own garments, all because Asiya's heart overflowed with compassion. This shows the power of Allah's plan and how he places mercy in the right hearts at the right time. Asiya's love for Musa wasn't ordinary. It was divinely inspired. While Pharaoh saw an enemy in that child, Asiya saw a blessing, and that difference set her apart. This was the beginning of her journey, and soon her heart would recognize something even greater, the truth of Musa's message. 3. Asiya's secret faith. As Musa grew up in the palace, signs of his prophethood began to emerge. He was unlike anyone else, wise, strong, and deeply connected to justice. When Allah eventually revealed his message to Musa, calling him to confront Pharaoh and lead the Israelites to freedom, Asiya was among the first to recognize the truth. Now pause and think. Asiya was the wife of Pharaoh. She lived in the heart of the palace, surrounded by idols, surrounded by soldiers, surrounded by people who feared and worshipped Pharaoh as a god. To declare belief in Allah in such a place was like standing in the middle of fire. And yet, her heart knew the truth. She saw the arrogance of Pharaoh. She saw the cruelty he inflicted on the Israelites. And when she heard the message of Musa, her soul recognized its purity. So she believed, quietly, secretly, with sincerity. In the chambers of the palace where no one could hear, she would pray to Allah. She would whisper his name. She would bow her head, not to Pharaoh, but to the one who created the heavens and the earth. Can you imagine that faith? Every single day was a risk. If Pharaoh discovered her belief, he would not hesitate to punish her severely, even kill her. Yet Asiya chose faith over fear. She chose Allah over luxury. She chose eternal life over temporary peace. This part of her life teaches us something incredible. Sometimes, the strongest faith grows in the most hostile places. Asiya could have stayed silent, living her life as the queen, enjoying wealth and comfort. But her heart couldn't accept falsehood. Even surrounded by disbelief, she clung to the truth. Many of us today struggle to hold on to our faith even when the environment is slightly difficult. Maybe at work, in school, or among friends who don't share our beliefs. But Asiya reminds us, if she could worship Allah in the palace of the greatest tyrant, then surely we can worship Allah in our own lives, no matter the challenges. Her secret faith didn't stay hidden forever. There came a moment when her belief could no longer be contained. The truth in her heart had to come out. And that's when her courage truly shone. 4. Her open declaration of faith. There comes a time in every believer's journey where faith cannot remain hidden anymore. For Asiya, that time arrived when the truth of Musa's message could no longer be denied. She had kept her faith a secret, worshipping Allah quietly in the shadows of the palace. But when Pharaoh's arrogance grew stronger and Musa openly called the people to Allah, Asiya knew she had to choose silence or standing with the truth. And she chose truth. Imagine this scene. The Queen of Egypt, surrounded by Pharaoh's advisors, soldiers, and servants, looks into the eyes of the man who claims to be a god, and she rejects him. She proclaims that she believes in Allah, the One, the Most High, the Lord of Musa, and the Lord of all creation. This was not a small act. For someone like Asiya, it was essentially a death sentence. Pharaoh was not a man who tolerated opposition, let alone from his own wife. His entire identity was built on people's submission to him. And here was Asiya, the woman closest to him, refusing to bow, refusing to accept him as a god, and instead declaring loyalty to Allah. Her courage at this moment is beyond words. She didn't care about her crown, her wealth, or her position. She didn't care about losing her title as queen. She didn't even care about her own life. What mattered to her was Allah. Think about how powerful that is. the very person who lived in the heart of luxury, who had every worldly comfort at her fingertips, threw it all away in an instant, just to stand firm on La ilaha illallah, the declaration that there is no God but Allah. For us, this is a huge lesson. Sometimes, standing up for truth may mean losing friends, losing status, or even losing safety. But Asiya's story proves that the reward for choosing Allah over the world is far greater than anything we leave behind. Of course, her open declaration did not go unnoticed. Pharaoh, furious and humiliated, turned on her with vengeance. And this leads us to the most heart-wrenching part of her story, her persecution at the hands of her own husband, the most ruthless tyrant on earth. 5. Pharaoh's response and Asiya's persecution. When Pharaoh heard that Asiya, his own wife, had openly declared her faith in Allah, his pride shattered. This was the ultimate humiliation for a man who demanded worship from everyone around him. How could the queen, the woman by his side, reject him and choose the God of Musa? Pharaoh's rage was unmatched. He saw her faith not only as betrayal, but as rebellion against his entire throne. And Pharaoh was not a man of patience, he was a tyrant. His response was swift and brutal. Asiya was dragged from the luxury of her chambers into the depths of punishment. The Queen of Egypt, once adorned in silk and jewels, was now chained and beaten. She was mocked, humiliated, and tortured under the scorching Egyptian sun. Soldiers struck her, pulling her away from every comfort she once knew. But here's the miracle. No matter what they did to her body, they could not break her soul. Every whip, every strike, every harsh word only strengthened her connection to Allah. Her lips moved with prayers, her heart grew firmer in faith, and her spirit soared beyond the pain of this world. The scholars narrate that Pharaoh commanded the soldiers to pin her to the ground, expose her to the blazing sun, and place a massive stone above her, threatening to crush her if she didn't renounce her faith. Imagine the terror of that moment. But Asiya's heart did not tremble. She had already made her choice. Allah over Pharaoh, eternity over this world. This is where we see the real power of belief. For most people, the fear of losing status, comfort, or life itself would be enough to break them. But Asiya stood firm. She didn't plead with Pharaoh. She didn't hesitate. She didn't even curse her fate. Instead, she turned to Allah with one of the most beautiful and powerful supplications ever recorded in the Quran. And that's where we move to the next part of her story, her famous prayer, the words that have inspired believers for centuries. 6. Her famous supplication. Asiya lay under the burning sun, her body broken by torture, her strength slipping away. Pharaoh's soldiers pressed her to give up her faith, but her lips refused to utter falsehood. And in that moment of pain, Asiya raised her heart to the heavens and made a prayer so profound that Allah himself recorded it in the Quran. In Surah At-Tahrim 66:11, Allah tells us her exact words, "My Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise, and save me from Pharaoh and his deeds, and save me from the wrongdoing people." These words are incredible. Notice how she didn't ask for relief from pain. She didn't ask for her crown back. She didn't ask to return to her palace or for Pharaoh's heart to soften. Instead, she asked for something far greater: nearness to Allah in paradise. That's the beauty of Asiya's faith. She wasn't focused on this world at all. Even as the Queen of Egypt, with wealth, servants, and a golden palace, she didn't want it. She wanted something that can't be seen by the eyes, but can be felt by the soul: closeness to Allah. Her dua also shows her complete detachment from the dunya. She had once lived in palaces, but now she prayed for a house in Jannah. She had once been surrounded by Pharaoh's power, but now she prayed to be saved from his evil. She had once lived among people who bowed to Pharaoh, but now she prayed to be saved from those who wronged themselves. This is the kind of perspective that only true believers achieve, when the pain of this life no longer matters, because the sweetness of the hereafter is more real in the heart. And Allah answered her dua in the most beautiful way. As she was being tortured, Allah opened the skies for her and showed her the house He had built for her in paradise. She saw her place in Jannah with her own eyes before her soul left her body. Imagine the peace that must have filled her heart at that moment. While Pharaoh thought he was breaking her, Allah was honoring her. While her body was chained, her soul was already free. This moment wasn't just a victory for Asiya, it was a declaration for all of humanity that no tyrant can harm a believer whose heart is with Allah. 7. Her martyrdom and eternal honor. As Asiya whispered her final prayer, Pharaoh thought he had won. He believed his power, his soldiers, and his cruelty had crushed her spirit. But in reality, he lost. Because while Pharaoh could torture her body, he could never touch her soul. When Asiya looked up and saw her house in paradise, her face lit with serenity. The pain of this world melted away, and all that remained was peace. The soldiers carried out Pharaoh's cruel command. They pressed the massive stone upon her, and her body was martyred. But in that very moment, her soul was lifted to the highest of places, honored and embraced by Allah. Think about that contrast. Pharaoh had the biggest palace on earth, yet he died disgraced, drowned in the sea, and his legacy became a symbol of tyranny. Asiya, on the other hand, had no army, no throne, and no worldly power. Yet she died a queen of paradise, honored forever in the Quran. Subhanallah. What a powerful reminder that true honor is only with Allah. The Prophet Muhammad, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, told us that Asiya is one of the greatest women of all time. In one narration, he raised his finger and said, "Faith." Sometimes people think leadership in Islam is only about men, but the Quran honors Asiya as a role model for all believers, men and women alike. She shows us that women, through their faith and sacrifice, can be pillars of guidance for the entire ummah. 6. Never trade eternity for temporary comfort. Pharaoh offered Asiya the world, but she chose the hereafter. This is one of the biggest lessons for us today. Every day we face choices. Do we compromise our deen for a little bit of dunya, or do we stay true to Allah? Asiya's life answers that question. Always choose Allah, because what's with Him lasts forever. Her story isn't just history, it's a guidebook. Every time we feel pressured to compromise, every time we feel lonely in faith, every time we wonder if the sacrifice is worth it, remember Asiya, the queen who gave up her throne for a house in paradise. And so the story of Asiya comes to an end, not in tragedy, but in triumph. She began as the queen of Egypt, surrounded by wealth and power, yet her heart longed for something more. She discovered the truth through Musa. She believed in Allah with unshakable faith, and she sacrificed everything, even her life, to stand firm in that belief. Her life teaches us that true honor doesn't come from crowns or castles, but from courage and conviction. Pharaoh had palaces of gold, but he drowned in disgrace. Asiya had nothing in the end but her faith, and she was raised to the highest rank in paradise. That is the difference between those who chase this world and those who chase the hereafter. For us, her story is more than history. It's a mirror. Each of us faces our own pharaohs. whether it's peer pressure, materialism, injustice, or personal struggles. And like Asiya, we must decide, do we stay silent or do we stand with the truth? Her courage should inspire us to never compromise our faith, no matter how hard the test becomes. The Prophet Muhammad, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, said she is one of the greatest women of all time. And even today, her dua lives on the tongues of believers around the world. Imagine that. Every time we recite her supplication, her legacy grows, and her story continues to inspire hearts. So as we close, let's carry her words in our hearts. My Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise, and save me from Pharaoh and his deeds, and save me from the wrongdoing people. May Allah grant us the strength, patience, and faith of Asiya, and may He gather us with her in the gardens of Jannah. Ameen. Before you go, I want to remind you, if this story touched your heart and you want more inspiring Islamic stories that strengthen your faith, make sure to subscribe to the Inspired Muslim channel, hit the notification bell, and share this video with friends and family. Together, we can keep these stories alive and inspire more hearts to stay firm on the path of Allah. Thank you for watching, and until next time, may Allah protect you, guide you, and keep your faith strong no matter what challenges you face.